a fair question. I think we're just beginning to make the commitment, okay, to building a program, a successful program. So just in the past, couple years, the new stadium, new meeting rooms, okay, practice fields, okay, all of those things that you have to have. What we've done with the budget in terms of recruiting, what we're doing again in terms of the way we feed our kids and having a full-time nutritionist and all of those things. So I think more and more now, all of a sudden, prospective student athletes now are saying, whoa, wait a second. I can stay home, be close to mom and dad, or be close to mom, or be close to dad, and play at a pretty darn high level. Go to a place where I know they care about their student athletes, and they have great coaches and really good facilities.
Tom is big on recruiting. Did you guys have a discussion before he accepted the job about recruiting budget and how you guys felt philosophically about how much you wanted to go into it?
Yeah, we were, when we first sat down with Tom, we were extremely transparent. We laid everything out. Tom, by the end of the interview, he knew exactly what we were doing with facilities. He knew the operating budget, every line item. He knew what our assistant coaching salary pool was. He knew where we were academically, APR, GPA, all of those things. So, and certainly, we spent a lot of time just talking about recruiting and philosophy and your, recruiting methodology and what are the different steps in terms of really leading or, offering a young man. Who's involved in staff? How is it organized? How would you tackle the city of Houston and then, start here, within a 60-mile radius and then move out the state of Texas? Your thoughts on, do we have to go outside? Do we have to spend a little time in Louisiana? Do we have to go into California? We set up the budget, for recruiting where most of it is in the state of Texas and then Louisiana and potentially a little bit California. But we also set it up, hey, we may have to go national in terms of a quarterback or, maybe another, skill position. And so we had a lot of discussion.
How much do you feel Urban had an influence on some of the ways? I mean, I don't know if you could even answer that, but do you get a sense that Urban has influenced the way he thinks about some of these things?
I hope so. I do. I will tell you, Tom Herman is his own man, and he's going to be his own head coach. But certainly, in all the discussions leading up to offering him the job, he talked about the influence that Coach Myers had, and really all of the coaches that he's, certainly want to give, all of the coaches that he's worked under, David Bailiff and Paul Rhoades and others. I mean, he referenced all of them, and we really started the interview not by, I asked him the question, don't tell me where you've been, but tell me, I've read your bio, I know where you've been, but tell me what you learned at each one of those places, okay? Tell me what you learned from each one of those guys that you worked for, and how's that helped you? Why do you think you're ready to be a head coach?
As far as just the aura that he had, the confidence, was that an impressive? I mean, he always seems very sure of himself. He's always very in control. I mean, when you're in an interview process and you know the credentials, do you get a feel for someone? Is it more so than just what they've done and where they've been and what they say? I mean, can you get a feel for somebody personally?
It's so much more than just the X's and O's of an interview. Meaning, just all of the questions. It's presence. It's, how you interact. I think Tom's a great communicator. I think you have to be in order to be a leader. And I certainly felt after you know, the 3 or 4 hours that we spent together, the initial time, you know, that he was a really good communicator, that he could look you in the eyes. He has a presence about himself. He has a confidence, but not a cockiness. And, you know, and after, you know, we sat down for, you know, 3 or 4 hours, you know, I walked out of there, and there were three people in the room with us. Said, this guy is really impressive. He's really impressive as a human being, and yes, obviously he can coach.
How big were you? How big were you guys back in Ohio State during the playoff run? How big were all Houston fans during this Ohio State run?
Well, I know this, that everybody I talked to, Ohio State, they increased their fan support by the city, the whole entire city of Houston. I mean, people were so engaged and thrilled, and you know, we took 2 private planes up to the championship game with, you know, 12 of our, you know, biggest supporters, and just fired up and thrilled that to know that Tom was coaching in the game and rooting for Ohio State. And you know, I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, so I certainly didn't grow up a Buckeye fan, but for 3 weeks I was a huge Ohio State fan, and probably will be from here on out.